Hello, okay, first off, I'm sorry these videos were meant to be out, at least one video uploaded a day, but because of work and everything else, the gym, I just haven't been able to actually edit my videos in time and shoot my videos in time. But they are coming, and the next one up in my Halloween special, it's the second film for me to review out of the Universal's Monsters box set, and that is the 1943 film, The Phantom of the Opera. Now, I'm going to start with saying I'm a massive fan of the musical version of this story. That being Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera. I absolutely adore that show, you know, the musical, and it's one of my favourite musicals of all time. I mean, I really do adore that show. I've lost count on how many times I've actually seen the West End version of it. But so yeah, I was really looking forward to actually checking this particular version out. So the plot, is loosely based from the novel of the same name. It's about a violinist who falls in love with a singer named Christine. But this violinist, who's been paying secretly for Christine to have singing lessons, he loses his job because of a illness, and he starts to get his shakes in his hand, so obviously it affects him playing a violin. So he ends up going down this path really of self-destruction, and it's all in the name of love. And I think, as far as I know, I've never read the novel, but this is slightly a different take. This has a different, almost like a different series of events compared to other versions of this story. But that is basically, that sums up the plot for this particular version. The Phantom of the Opera is quite a tragic story, and it's a tragic love story. One that I really do adore. I'd never seen this film before, only the West End musical and the Broadway version. As well as the Joel Schumacher adaptation of the musical with Gerard Butler as the Phantom. Again, another film that I really do adore, and hopefully we'll review that at some point soon. I kind of like what they did with the story in this version. I'm not actually, like I said, I've never read the novel, so I'm not actually sure how much of the story that's in this was actually in the novel. But basically it shows someone who's basically in love with this woman, which is, that is the basic sort of plot, really. That's, So, but he's using all his earnings on making sure she's got a future in the art of opera. She carries on singing, and he loves her so much that he, just to hear her sing, he adores just to listen to her singing. Then because of illness, and poverty and desperation, this man goes down a destructive path, and it's all in the name of love. I just love this sort of story, and I think it was very well presented in this 1943 version. The stage design in this film is beautiful. The sets look so grand that I was actually quite blown away by the look of the film. Everything just looked very real, very big and very grand. I mean, especially the stage, when you're seeing them perform. I was quite blown away. It looked really impressive. And when I watched the documentary afterwards, it was an actual replica of a theatre in, I think it was Paris. I can't actually remember, but it was an actual replica that they built, and they'd used it, I think, on a previous version of Phantom of the Opera. But yeah, very grand and epic looking sets. They look really nice. Now, there's a lot of music in this film. A lot of opera music. And I actually think there was too much. And I know this is called Phantom of the Opera, but there's a difference between music telling a story, or, continuing the story, or, aiding the story, or music just being there for the sake of being there. And I found myself enjoying the musical pieces, don't get me wrong, but thinking they could have ended a couple of minutes earlier because they didn't really help aid or progress the story. And it's different when you got the musical. Andrew Lloyd Webber's, that's different. This is not really so much a musical, and I think they spend too much time, shooting these, very operatic, grand scenes, but they just were a little bit too overlong. The man playing the Phantom, Claude Rains, I thought was very good. I thought this performance as the Phantom was very elegant and beautiful, with a tint of madness. I really liked what he did. As in a previous film, the Phantom had previously been played as a more of a horrific character, more horror-like and grotesque. Can't actually remember the year. But yeah, he was more horror-like and grotesque, but I did like the route they went down in this version. And I like what this Claude Rains did with the character. He was more romantic-like, but with that sort of hint of madness. There was also a bit of humour in this. Some dark, some light sort of humour, if you know what I mean. It actually made me chuckle a little bit, and I felt the film needed a bit of humour. It was slightly slapstick, but also black comedy as well, I felt. But, you know, my sort of humour, which I didn't expect. But there were some really, really funny moments in this, and I really dug the humour. Like, it was, you know, it wasn't right throughout, but there were little moments, pockets of moments, but I think the film really needed it. And I thought it was very clever in that way. Now, like I did with The Creature from the Black Lagoon, I kept in mind the time that this film was made. I didn't go thinking, oh, that looked crap, or that looks fake, because this was released in 1943. But the chandelier scene blew me away in this film. It was very quick, but the build-up to it was very intense. And when you do get that very famous and iconic scene, it literally did blow me away. Because it looked great. Now, I'm not entirely sure how they pulled it off in this film. Back then, you know, because back then, keep in mind, there was no such thing as CGI. But in the way in which they shot this scene, it just looked so real. Like I said, very quick shots. I mean, almost blink and you kind of missed it sort of shots. And it helps add impact to the scene. But you actually see the chandelier fall towards the camera with quick shots of people's expressions as it falls. And I think it helped add drama and impact to the scene. I mean, I love this is one shot of the actress that's on the stage, and she's screaming as the chandelier falls, like a proper. I mean, I'm gonna have to try and find a picture, but yeah, I absolutely that the look on the woman's face, the scream, it said so much, and I mean, I just really, really liked it. I mean, just her face said so much that you didn't really need to see, you know, just focus on the chandelier falling. All you needed to do was look at this woman's face, and it was like, yeah, you could feel the terror. It shows that you don't need big special effects and an overblown budget to help create a very effective and dramatic scene. I think the one thing the film lacked was that slight horror element. Like, you never once really are afraid of the Phantom. Not for me anyway. There was never really a moment which made you go, ugh, you know, you were scared sort of thing, and you know, look away from the screen to really show the full extent of how far this man, the Phantom, was willing to go, all because of love. I think it needed to be a little bit darker, a little bit more gruesome maybe, but that's just my own personal preference, because overall this was a pretty good interpretation of Phantom of the Opera, and you know, a very well made adaptation of Phantom of the Opera. There's also this very beautiful shot in the third act after they've defeated the Phantom, and it's a shot of his violin and his mask among the rubble, and it's very beautiful, and it did pull on the heartstrings a little. After all, this is a very tragic love story, which I feel should have had maybe a bit more of a horror element to it to show the full extent of the man's madness and love. But like I said, this was a pretty good version of this story, and I did really like what they did with it. From a technical aspect to the performances from the cast, to how they presented the story, this was a pretty good, you know, this was a pretty well-made film, and it's surprising me because these are two films now, The Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Phantom of the Opera, and I both thought they were really going to blow me away, and that I wasn't going to enjoy them. But I really, really do like them. You know, I actually really enjoy this, and being such a big fan of Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical adaptation, I really didn't think I'd like this, and I'd find something about it to really, you know, hate it. But I found myself smiling, laughing, and feeling a little emotional. You know, this did pull on the heartstrings. I was pleasantly surprised by this version of Phantom of the Opera, and I'll be giving the 1943 version of Phantom of the Opera a B+. plus. Yeah, it didn't quite hit. It didn't quite go into the sort of A minus, A sort of grade. There were a few, again, as I've mentioned in my review, there were a few issues that I did have with it. But overall, this was a really enjoyable film and I really did like it. So, yeah, again, thank you for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. As have you seen 1943 version of Phantom of the Opera? What did you think? Please let me know in the comments below. And I'll be seeing you guys soon.